Every hidden secret of legendary swords revealed. These swords killed kings, sparked wars, and changed history. But the stories you know? They're lies. Today, I'm revealing the hidden secrets behind history's most legendary blades that historians don't want you to know. Some of these will blow your mind. Let's dive in. From Excalibur to the Honjo Masamune, legendary swords have captivated humanity for millennia. But behind every myth lies a brutal truth. These weren't just weapons, they were symbols of power, tools of propaganda, and in some cases, complete fabrications. Here's what really happened. Excalibur, King Arthur's legendary blade. The story says Arthur pulled it from a stone, proving his divine right to rule Britain. Here's the secret. Excalibur probably never existed, and if it did, it wasn't even Arthur's only sword. Medieval texts contradict each other constantly. In some versions, Arthur pulls Excalibur from the stone. In others, the Lady of the Lake gives it to him. Some scholars believe these are actually two different swords. The sword in the stone was called Caliburn, while Excalibur came later. But here's the real kicker. The sword in the stone legend likely comes from ancient metalworking practices. Early blacksmiths would stick swords into stone anvils while forging them. A young apprentice pulling a finished sword from the stone would symbolize completing their training. The hidden truth? Excalibur was probably propaganda. Medieval writers created the legend to legitimize British monarchy by connecting them to a mythical past. No archaeological evidence of Arthur's sword has ever been found. The real Excalibur displayed at various locations? All proven fakes. The Honjo Masamune, Japan's greatest lost treasure, forged by legendary swordsmith Goro Nyudo Masamune in the 13th century, this katana was considered the finest blade ever made. It became a symbol of the Tokugawa shogunate, passed down through generations of shoguns for over 600 years. Here's what they don't tell you. The Honjo Masamune vanished in 1945 after World War II. American occupation forces ordered Japanese citizens to surrender all weapons. The sword was handed to an unknown American soldier named Coldy Bimore and was never seen again. The hidden secret? That name was likely fake or misspelled. Decades of investigation have found no U.S. military records matching that name. Some historians believe the sword was melted down. Others think it's sitting in someone's attic in America, the owner completely unaware they possess Japan's most valuable cultural artifact. The real tragedy? Masamune blades were considered so perfect they could cut through other swords. Tests showed his unique folding technique created blades that were both flexible and incredibly hard. The Honjo Masamune represented the pinnacle of 700 years of Japanese metallurgy, and it's gone forever. Charlemagne's coronation sword. This blade supposedly belonged to Charlemagne, the first Holy Roman Emperor. French kings used it in coronation ceremonies for over 1,000 years. It's currently displayed in the Louvre Museum. The hidden secret? Scientific analysis proves it's a fake. Carbon dating and metallurgical studies show the blade was forged in the 10th or 11th century, roughly 200 years after Charlemagne died in 814 CE. But here's where it gets interesting. The pommel contains a relic, supposedly a piece of the Holy Lance that pierced Christ's side. X-ray analysis revealed it's just a piece of wood. The gold hilt, gold-plated copper. Why the deception? Medieval kings needed legitimacy. By claiming their coronation sword belonged to Charlemagne, they connected themselves to the greatest emperor in European history. The sword became more valuable as a symbol than as a weapon. Truth didn't matter. Power did. Zulfikar, the sword of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Islamic tradition says the Prophet Muhammad gave this double-bladed sword to his cousin Ali during the Battle of Uhud in 625 CE. It became one of Islam's most sacred symbols, appearing on flags and emblems across the Middle East. The hidden secret? The double-blade design is physically impossible. No historical examples of functional double-bladed swords exist. They would be too heavy, unbalanced, and structurally weak. Every Zulfikar ever found is either ceremonial or a modern fabrication. So what was the real Zulfikar? Probably a normal sword with a forked tip created by battle damage or intentional design. Over centuries, artistic depictions exaggerated the fork until it became two complete blades. The deeper truth? Zulfikar's power was never physical. It represented divine favor and righteous authority. The impossible design actually strengthened its symbolic power. A sword that couldn't exist in reality could only come from God. Kirtana, the sword of mercy. Used in British coronations since the 13th century, Kirtana has a broken tip. Legend says the tip broke when an angel stopped the sword from killing an innocent person, earning it the name Sword of Mercy. The hidden secret? The tip was deliberately cut off. Medieval records show blunted swords symbolized mercy and justice tempered with compassion. Breaking the point made the sword useless for killing, transforming it into a purely ceremonial object. But here's the conspiracy. Some historians believe Kirtana is actually a 12th century crusader sword, possibly brought back from the Holy Land. If true, it might have been used in actual combat before being converted into a coronation symbol. The angel story was invented later to hide its violent past. Tizona, El Cid's legendary blade. Spanish hero Rodrigo Diaz de Vivar, known as El Cid, supposedly wielded this sword against the Moors in the 11th century. The blade still exists in a Spanish museum. The hidden secret? Metallurgical analysis dated the sword to the 12th century, decades after El Cid died in 1099. It's a medieval forgery created to capitalize on El Cid's legendary status. But the story gets weirder. The sword's inscription includes Arabic text praising Allah. Why would a Christian crusader sword have Islamic inscriptions? Because it was probably made by Moorish craftsmen and later claimed as El Cid's weapon for propaganda purposes. The real Tizona, if it existed, is lost to history. What we have is a beautiful fake that became more famous than the original. The Wallace Sword, William Wallace's freedom blade. Scotland's national hero supposedly wielded this massive two-handed sword against English invaders in the 13th century. It's displayed at the National Wallace Monument. The hidden secret? The sword is a 16th century weapon built 200 years after Wallace died. Experts confirm the blade style, hilt design, and construction techniques didn't exist in Wallace's time. So why the deception? Scottish nationalism. In the 1500s, Scotland needed heroes to rally against English domination. Wallace's legend was revived, and a historical sword was created to make the story tangible. The sword became a pilgrimage site, inspiring generations of Scots. The brutal truth? We have no idea what Wallace's actual weapons looked like. Everything we know is romantic fiction. Every legendary sword hides a secret. Some never existed. Others are elaborate fakes. A few are real but misunderstood. The pattern is clear. These swords were never just weapons. They were tools of power, symbols of legitimacy, and instruments of propaganda. The real magic wasn't in the steel. It was in the stories. And those stories shaped nations, inspired armies, and changed the course of human history. Which legendary sword shocked you most? Drop a comment below. If you want more hidden truths about historical weapons, smash that subscribe button. We're just getting started. Thanks for watching.